Hi and welcome to another Flutter tutorial. And for today, we're going to look at how to insert data into MySQL database using Flutter application. So here we have a Flutter application, a compiled Flutter application on an AVD. And on the left side here, this is our database. Which is MySQL database run through XAMPP application stack, server application stack. And at the bottom here, this is our server directory, which consists of two folders, one for storing PHP folders, and the other one basically storing asset files such as images and other type of file. And here we have the application that we are working on, and this is a simple eShop application which allow for user to insert a new product into the database, the new product dot here handle the following screen, the new product screen, which comes from the main screen here. So once user successfully log in, they will be presented with the main screen, and this floating button here will basically take user to the new product registration. And the product registration page class here handle or use a simple stateful widget, and the form that provided in the new product page basically built by using the stateful widgets build method. So the form basically handle through our scaffold widget, and the entire body is being what we call as set to single child scroll view and allow for the entire page to be scrollable. So this is just a simple form, so which contain columns and widgets for the new product form. So the new product form contain the gesture detector with image selector. And at the bottom, basically contain the what we call as text form field that allow user to enter data. All right, so it basically contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text form field and one drop down button. So you can see the implementation of widgets and its parameter, or what we call as a properties set to be able to get the following output. The insert button at the bottom handled by the elevated button, which is wrapped with a size bar, and the insert dialog method, when user press the button, it basically implement the insert dialog and with the validator, okay, with the form validator. All right, so the take picture button here, the take picture button handle the image, or what we call as the take picture dialog method, which later on pop up a selection of either to select image from gallery or from camera, and if user select from camera, for the AVD, we should be able to see the camera simulator, so that user can just take picture by using the simulator, okay, and then they can move around with the simulator. When user press the take picture button, and there's a image cropper plugin, the image cropper library, And user can select the image ratio, and for example, like if you take square image ratio, so we have the following image crop nicely into the image widget selector here. So let me try to enter a few data. So let's say this is a coffee. Product description we can take from let's say coffee bean from Kedah, right? And then we have this is beverage, quantity set to like 50, and then we have price RM2.50. Barcode, if we have barcode, let's say the barcode is 12 characters, we just enter any value. All right, so now we have all the data. So when user press the insert button, let's see the insert button implement at the bottom here. It basically take all the value from the controller. For the image, we convert the image by using base64 encoder, because whenever we want to submit or we want to pass image data to our server, we need to convert into a string. So in this case, we use base64 converter, which will convert the object image that we receive from our image picker, and then convert that into base64 string, which later on pass through HTTP post. All right, so for the HTTP post here, we use HTTP library, which basically available, can be installed in the pub/spec YAML. So the current version is version 13.4. So once we have that, we get all the value, and then we pass to the server URL, which is handled by this constant here. So the constant class, and at the moment we have defined the IP address at the moment, because we are running this through XAMPP library, XAMPP application stack. So we define the server directory in the constant class. This is the directory which is here, PHP. Okay, so we can see that we need a server-side script which will handle all the data that has been passed to the server. So we pass the following data as a body, because we pass as a post array. As a post array, we need to create body to pass all the data that we want to the server. So the body basically consists key value pair. The key value pair basically define the name of the parameter of the keyword that we want to pass to the server. And in this case, we want to pass the product name, product description, price, quantity, barcode, type, image. And this is basically the data that we would like to pass, which we retrieve from the editing controller, from the text editing controller. So once we have that, and together with the image, we pass together with the image as a string to the new product.php. And then once we pass the data, so we need to work on our database and also our server-side script. So for the database, we have the database defined here, slumshopdb, and with table product. At the moment, the structure of the table as follows. So we have table products with the following fields: product ID, product name, description, category, quantity, price, barcode, and product date. Product ID, this is auto increment, and product date, this is auto current timestamp in the database. So once we have the database ready, we need to prepare our backend script, which is available in the server directory mobile/php. So the new product.php basically handled by the following. So we need to create a PHP file to handle client requests. So for the PHP file, first we create a checker. So this is just a simple isset checker to check if any post array is being submitted or not. For the isset here, this is just to make sure that if there's no post array submitted, we don't have to process the data. And we can further use, for example, token, security token. We can use other method to secure the API. We call it API, Application Programming Interface, that interface with the database. Once we check if there's a post array or not, if there's no post array, we just send to as a JSON data response back. We create a response array. And then we send to the following function, send JSON respond. So the send JSON respond will respond back to the application, indicating that the status is failed, and of course there's no data submitted in JSON data format. But if there's a post array, means that we have the data, so we want to pass the data. To get the data, we use a post array to retrieve all the key that we submitted from the application. Okay. So we get all the data. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data as described in the Flutter application. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data. Okay, so we have 7 data from the post array. And then we build our SQL, insert into database, insert into table products, product names, product description, product category, product quantity, product price, and product barcode. To quickly, if you want to create SQL insert quickly from a database, actually you can just use SQL statement here and use the insert, and then take all this and then make this into your put it into your SQL insert string and replace all the required or change the value and remove if any of the product field that is not needed, such as product ID and product date. Okay, once you build the SQL insert, and then we can just execute it, but this is just as simple as it can be. Maybe you need to put some other, for example, if you want to make sure that you can avoid some SQL injection, so you can use something like add slashes PHP functions to avoid if user add any comma, so that can be avoided. So like for example, add slashes any string is good if we add slashes to string. Price, quantity, barcode, type, image, all those seems to be okay. And execute the query. Then we execute the query by using our database connector, and then the database connector basically define once here. So this is where we define our database connector. So every time the database, the application API connect to the database, it will use this file to communicate with database. Okay, so once the connector is ready, execute the query and then perform the SQL insert. We might need to prepare first, but yeah, we can just straight away execute the query. So here, this is basically just to create response first, because we just want to submit status success. There's no data to be submitted back because here we just want to perform insert operation. So we just submit success, no data. And then to upload or to decode the image back into an object image file, we can use base64 decoder. So we decode back the string, base64 string that we receive from the application, and then it will reconstruct the image back into file by using base64 decode. So to store the file, we can use path and set where we want to store the file. So the file basically backtrack one folder and then store into asset folder into product folder. And then file name, basically we use the product ID. So once we insert data into the database, the product ID is an auto ID, so we use the auto ID as the product name. You can auto generate the product name, product file name, but it is much easier because this is because of the nature of the data. If it is not secure data, so we can just use ID of the product as ID of the item as the name of the file. Much easier to do that way. So we have the path, and then we can just it's written. We can use file put content path of decoded string. But if you want to store multiple file, you might want to consider use different function. Forgot the function's name to be able to store image into server directory. And then we just respond back to the client that the operation is success. If the operation is not success, we build another response, success fail, and return data as null. So on the client side, so this is the server side. So once the application is ready, the application is ready to submit data. So we have insert. So insert here at this product. This is basically handled by the before we insert the item. So we have the following show dialog box. So this show dialog basically handle at this product query. We don't want user. We need to ask user before they add item into database or perform any database operation. Ask them for confirmation, and this is one of it. Allow user to confirm if they really want to insert data into database. Okay, so use the show dialog and then make sure that are you sure you want to do this. Once the insert product is ready, so the response.body here that return from new product.php will receive the data and decode back the JSON data based on the response.body. Okay, so the data that's been decoded from JSON data, check for the status code first. If the status code is equal to 100, means that the return data is okay, success. And then we check the data status array from JSON data if it is equal success. If it is equal success, we can just toast success, and then we can pop the current layout and go back to the main page. Alright, so that is the operation. If the operation is fail, we just return toast, and then we don't have to close, and then we might need to perform something, display the status. Alright, so if I press yes, so it will perform, will display success toast, and then we'll go back to the main page. And if we check our database here, if we look at the database, there's new data there. You can see coffee, beverage, quantity, price, barcode, and product date. And the item image is basically in the database. So if you look under folder mobile, go into asset, go into products, we should be able to see image number 3 here because we have the product ID 3. So 3.jpg. So size is 600 times 600. Because we set our image ratio as a square, so it basically returns 600 by 600. For the image crop, I forgot to mention about the image crop. There are two libraries that I use here. One library is basically for the camera, which handled by the image picker, and the other one is image cropper, which handle for the cropping of the image. Okay, so image picker allow us to pick image cropper allow us to crop image. So you can go to the to the repository and then check their latest documentation. But for the image cropper here, I use version 1.4.1. But there's a latest version 0.2, but I'm not quite sure. I'm unable to use the image cropper latest version, and that's why I use the old version. It does work, but you might need to check out the latest documentation for the image cropper. Okay, so the image cropper implementation is very simple. So when user click on the image, it basically handled by the take picture dialog here. When user click on this, you get this select from. The select basically allow user either to select from gallery picker or to select from camera, which is a camera picker. So functions for gallery picker, method for gallery picker. basically handled by this, and method for camera picker handled by this. So once we have image pick from using the picker library, and then we pass to the crop image, which is image cropper library. For the image cropper library, what we have to do is just, if you just want to set to square, we can just remove the other ratio type, right? So if you remove the other ratio type, you can just use the ratio here. We just use the square ratio. So like for example, the square ratio for this, okay, there's only one ratio, 1:1. So we basically set the ratio set only 1:1. So we want to manage the image properly, image ratio properly, so that we don't get any weird image distortion later on when we display back to, for example, in the main page here, we display in the card list, and square usually present the best, not the best, but the best ratio that we can display image, because we can get square image display properly in mobile device. Yeah, that's it. It's quite simple. You can refer to my GitHub page for the codes, and in the description below. I think that's all for now. See you next next video. Bye bye.